In 1961, President John F. Kennedy stated to the Congress about putting a man on the moon and returning him safely by the end of the decade. In 1961, when he made this statement, in the United States, the country was torn. It was torn between the Democrats and Republicans, and people were losing hope. We just got out of a Korean War, if you will, not too much before that. The Vietnam War was ramping up. The Soviet Union was working with nuclear programs, and we were struggling as a country in the United States. And John F. Kennedy realized that, and he knew that the United States as a people needed a greater vision. So he came up with the idea of putting a man on the moon, because at that time there were things happening with rockets being launched into space between the Soviet Union and the United States. But their vision was never to go to the moon at that point before this. So he created the vision. When he created the vision, he had no idea how it would happen. Matter of fact, the equipment, the rockets, the science wasn't even available yet to make it happen, because his vision was so strong. And it ignited a country through his charisma and his passion. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon and jumped around and played around there for a little bit before him and his pals came back safely a few days later. So the vision, if developed and worked well, can be the beginning of something that's impossible to actually do today. It's futuristic. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a vision, what it is, how it can become, and the basic steps to creating one. If you have one for yourself, fantastic. Congratulations. If you have one for your business, even better if you have one for both. If you only have one for a business and not yourself, this is a great opportunity to start to look at creating one for yourself and for your organization. Whether you're a business person and you're the only person in your business, or you happen to be in a larger business and you're in a group that you can create a visions for, there's places for everywhere they have a vision statement. So what's the purpose of a vision statement? An imagined idea or goal towards which one aspires to. The vision, I'll talk about John F. Kennedy's vision, because at this time it was a thing that he wanted the country to aspire to. It wasn't possible at the time. The purpose of a vision is to articulate where one should go or could go. It could be your dream. Some people wake up in the middle of the night and they have a vision or they have a dream on what they should do. In 2010, one of my awakening moments in the middle of the night was to train and educate 1 million people by the end of the year 2020. It was 10 years in my dream, if you will, to train and educate 1 million people. I don't really know where that came from, how it got in my head, other than the fact that's some of the work that I do. I never really thought about that before. But at 3 a.m. on one day, I woke up and I couldn't go back to sleep. And that became a vision, as I'll talk and share about some of my other visions as well. The value of a vision, it gets you super focused. A vision gets you focused on where you want to go. The purpose may be to go from New York to California. But if you don't have that vision or that route, if you will, totally defined and put into place that it's focused, you could drive hundreds and thousands of miles out of your way and maybe get to your destination or maybe never get there at all. Vision provides focus. And if you're lacking focus in your life, whether it be in your personal life, for yourself, for your family, or your business, I encourage you to seriously roll up your sleeves and say, you know what, I've got to create this vision. Play with it. Think about it. It's not something you have to create overnight, and it has to be created tomorrow. Mine took a while to create, and every one that I'll share with you and other people who create them, they're a work in progress. And even after I completed what I believe to be my vision statement, I still look at it every once in a while and make sure that it's on track for what I want it to be. So what's in one? Words of inspiration. If you look at the words of John F. Kennedy, they were pretty inspiring. The way he communicated was inspiring. He gave hope for a better tomorrow. And it's about drawing people to your cause. When I decided to create my vision and articulate it to people, all of a sudden I had people asking me, how could I help? Where do you want to speak? Maybe I can get you some courses to train at. How can we help you reach your people? And when that happens, all of a sudden that focus puts people in front of us. And I'll tell you an example here. So if you've seen one of my events, if you've seen me speak somewhere else, you may already know this. But if you haven't, just go and close your eyes for a minute, we'll go on a little envisioning step here. Just close your eyes and relax a little bit. And just listen to what I'm talking about, if you will. So pretend you're on the interstate, a very busy highway, and you get a flat tire and you pull off to the side of the road. And while you're on the side of the road, you get out of your car and you know it's dangerous. You see all these cars going by and trucks and buses, and there's maybe 3 lanes of traffic, and they're going fast. They're going very fast. And on the opposite side, you see other traffic going by that way, and you're feeling in danger. You don't feel safe. But if you focus on those cars going from left to right, the cars, the buses, the motorcycles in 3 or 4 lanes of traffic, you can see that. And they're just going by very quickly, beeping their horns and all sorts of noise. Look for the red car. As you have your eyes closed, imagine all the traffic. And when you see the red car, think about the red car and raise your hand and say, well, there's a red car. How about when you see the big semi-truck go by? If you're doing that envisioning technique, or just thinking I'm a little crazy, which could be possible too, is to look at that red car and say, that red car, consider that red car your perfect customer. Getting focused on your perfect customer is a way to know that every time that red car is in front of you, you need to pay attention. A vision statement will help us do this, to help us get totally focused on what's important to us. That red car is always there on that interstate. But if we don't know we're looking for the red car as compared to the truck or the motorcycle, going through life, we get all sorts of different people in our worlds. We let people in, we spend our time, invest our money in people and places that are not our ideal places to be. So a great vision helps somebody to get totally focused on that red car. And we use that red car in the story here, if you will, for the rest of this session and throughout the next couple sessions as well, because it's about getting focused. When you get that red car, the first step is knowing where that red car is. When you know where that red car is and you see that red car, then you follow that red car perhaps, and you go where that red car goes, because chances are there's other people who have red cars where that red car goes. Also, it helps us to understand that once we identify the red car, then we can spend greater time focusing on what kind of red car do we want. Do you want a 2-door, a 4-door, a sedan, a convertible? Do we want one with fancy tires and rims on it? Do we want certain features inside it? Because once we get to that level of granularity, life gets so much easier and simpler when you know what your vision and your purpose is, because then you're focused. So going on, let's say, what's an example? Here is my vision statement. One of them is to be a preferred provider of insightful education and training, products and services that prepare lifelong learners and progressive organizations to greater levels of success. That's the vision statement for my business, which is called Organizational Troubleshooter. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with my vision of also training and educating 1 million people by the year 2020. So this helps me to stay focused. It's okay to have more than one vision, because you'll see as we walk into our mission statements that sometimes we will have multiple visions because we are multiple aspects of one's life. The multiple aspects that we have, they are intertwined in many cases, but yet they can be separate, because you may have a vision for yourself, for your family, and for your career. Here's a couple examples of other vision statements. At Cleveland Clinic, striving to be the world's leader in patient experience, clinical outcomes, research, and education. Notice, they want to be the world's leader. Here's the inspiration for the employees there, to be the world's leader, not just to be good at it, but be the world's leader. At Goodwill, every person has the opportunity, not some people, every person has the opportunity to achieve his or her full potential and participate in and contributing to all aspects of life. So here at Goodwill, they're trying to tell us that every person is important and they deserve to participate and contribute in all aspects of life. Not just the rich people, not just the people who can afford certain things, but everybody. The next thing I'll talk about is the mission. The mission, if you think about the vision of going to the moon and bringing the man back safely by the end of the decade, think of the mission as all the things that had to happen, all the people had come into place, all the processes to make that occur. What happened at that time, they had to start the Apollo program. They had to find engineers. They had to build computers. They had to build spaceships, build rockets. Some people literally lost their lives in that process. Some people gave of their lives and years of service to make that happen. So if you think about the vision on where you want to go, think about the mission as how you're going to get there. What are you going to do literally to realize that vision? What are the steps you have to take? And this becomes the second most important step in the process of taking your dream from a dream, writing it down into your vision, and then starting to work on writing this out. Because once this happens, once you start going through this process, unbeknownst to you, in most cases, what happens is your subconscious mind starts to go to work on making your dreams and your visions come to life, because you get so focused on it, you get ready, and your subconscious mind starts identifying all those red cars when they go by, even if you don't notice them with your conscious mind. So what's the value of a mission statement? It provides for focused work. This is important when you have employees and other people working with you or you're working with, because it provides that focus, that if the focus is to put a man on the moon and bring him back safely by a certain time frame, it provides for a very certain level of focus that's needed. And it also creates the birth of the strategic goals to say, if we're going to go there, what do we have to do? What kind of goals do we have to achieve in the short and long term to make that happen? And this is the origin for gaining the understandings of the needed resources to bring this mission to life, if you will, that allows the vision to be achieved. So between looking at focusing work, creating strategies and goals, and really starting to look at what resources are needed, this mission statement becomes valuable. Most small business owners do not do this, and I believe it contributes to the failure rates. In the United States, small business failure rates are at 50% in the first 2 years, and it goes up to 70% in the first 5 years. Small business owners, entrepreneurs will do more damage to themselves than the economy will ever do to them or competitors. The most successful people do successful habits, and that's what they do, is they work on their mission and vision early on to be able to create that business plan. What's in one? A bit of a strategic focus. It's that focus of the future and creating goals. So it's about strategy on how one's going to move from the beginning through the different steps to get to the end, the completion. In many mission statements, there'll be distinctions from competitors in the same industry, if you will. It'll have something about how they want to be perhaps the best in the industry, or how they're going to be cutting edge, leading the industries. So it depends on the mission of each individual organization or person, if it's your personal mission. But the idea is that the mission can help one distinguish themselves from competitors, and that helps in the competitive environment. It also helps give employees perhaps a little bit more focus on their strategies when they look at what they're doing. If you want to be a world leader isn't somebody who comes in second place. So the mission is that when they want to be a world leader, the distinctions from the competitors is to make sure that when that happens, you're hiring world-class employees, the best talent that are out there, not just what's available. Industry related. If you're in aerospace, it probably has something to do with aerospace in the mission statement. If me as an educator or a trainer, in my mission, it has something to do with what I literally do and to make my vision come to life. If my vision, as it is now, is to train and educate 1 million people, my mission then has to do something with educating and training. So here's some examples. You've probably seen the commercials of Affleck, right? With the duck. To combine aggressive strategic marketing with quality products and services at competitive prices to provide the best insurance value for customers. Now, this is packed with great words. To combine aggressive strategic marketing. They're not just going to be out there doing what they can. They're going to do aggressive strategic marketing. That's why you see all the commercials. That's why you see on radio and TV and print ads, they're aggressive with their marketing strategies, with quality products and services at competitive prices. It means their prices are not going to be at top of the level. It's not going to be undercutting anybody else. It's going to be competitive prices. That means you're going to pay about the average with them as you're going to pay with anybody else. And the best insurance values for customers. And that they'll go into more than likely in their guiding principles and talking what those values are for their customers. Here's mine. Through a prescription of quality services and products at an affordable investment, strategically provide practical training for today and education for tomorrow with easy to follow approaches and simple to use tools that will help people and organizations to achieve their full potential. For me, it's about providing quality service and products and doing it in a way that's affordable for the small business owner, the medium sized business owner, the large corporate organization. I want to make sure that what I'm doing is not only working to help them understand what they can do today in the sense of training on how they can take these simple to use tools and put them to practice right away, but also how they have to look to the future and be prepared to solve the complex problems of tomorrow through different types of training and or education. So as you see, even in my mission statement, I put some specific aspects of what's going on in my industry and how I'm going to really focus on doing that. Next step in the process is about guiding principles. Guiding principles tends to be missing when I do find organizations and people who have vision and mission statements. I can't emphasize enough here that if you do have a vision and mission statement, if you don't have guiding principles, please take some extra time and develop these. You'll find, again, greater focus will come to you, as will people and other organizations willing to support your cause when they know what you are about. Guiding principles are the third piece that go hand in hand with the vision and mission that articulates why you're doing what you're doing, how you're going to do what you're doing, and what people can expect from you. The purpose of guiding principles is to offer information about how you're going to do business, what's important to you. So the purpose of these guiding principles combined with the vision and mission is to say, here's your vision, this is where you're going to go, this is how you're going to do it. And then the guiding principles become how you're actually going to make it happen. So I'll give you, and these you can consider them guiding behaviors if you want. Some people call them guiding principles, guiding behaviors. Some people call it fundamental philosophies. Some people say how we will treat our customers, for example. The value of guiding principles, and I encourage you to have at least 4, if not 6 or 7 of them, depending on who you are and what your organization may be. But here are a few of mine. I'm going to give you examples. Come from a place of ethical service with respect and dignity. I hope if you know me that you know that I've come from a place of ethical service. And if you're not happy with me, I'll either refund your money or make sure you become happy with me and we find a mutual way to move forward or depart as friends at least. I try to always work with respect and dignity for the people I'm working with and hope that I'll get that in return. I support charitable causes. You'll find in the social awareness of today, making social impact is the idea that a lot of people who are going to do business with others want to make sure that some of their money that they're going to be paying to that company is going to go to a greater cause than just the owner's pockets. I've always believed, as I talked about before, the give to get philosophy. So part of my revenue, of all revenue generated, goes to support charitable causes. And many of you who know me, you know that all my literature, whether it be marketing materials on my website, I talk about the Smile Train. I give a portion of all my revenue to the Smile Train. Is at smiletrain.org if you want to look at it. It's an organization that provides surgeries for children with cleft lips to be able to seal their lips so that they can have a better future, if you will, without the cleft lip. And for $250 per surgery, all it takes is to make a difference in a young child. So the idea being, if you're going to invest with me, you can feel comfortable that some of the money that you're going to be spending on my products and services is going to go to a greater cause. It's not just going to be used for me to go on a vacation somewhere. What's in guiding principles? It's what you believe to be important to you on how you and or perhaps employees will treat customers and how you're going to make decisions. In the case of my guiding principles, in other words, I provide sound diagnostic consultation interventions. I do research. I do surveys. I'll do interviews with a lot of my customers, and I give them the data. I do it in a very systematic manner. I give it to them so they can see that it's not just my personal opinion. I ground everything I do based on interviews and on surveys so that when I have to diagnose a problem and prescribe some sort of way to overcome the problem, I can ground it in data and something that's real and not just guess at it. I also guide others to identify and solve complex problems of tomorrow. And the work that I do is I help them solve problems. I help them understand how they can take their problems, turn them into opportunities, how to improve processes, and not just do it for them, but I teach them how to do it so that they don't need me there. My goal is not to go work for some company and stay there forever or to mentor and coach somebody forever. It's to give them more tools and skills and abilities so they can do it on their own. And I think that's what's important. In my philosophies, the way I work. I know some people that would be happy to keep a coaching client for 10 years. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not how I do it. So guiding principles are very specific and unique to who I am in the case of giving you mine. So what's in guiding principles is how I'm going to work, how I'm going to treat other people. Another example is I focus on approach, deployment, and measurable results. I look at work in three ways. What's the approach? How am I going to deploy my answers or my help to them? And can they be measurable? So when I work with corporate clients and I give them ideas on how to improve, we want to measure their results. It's like any goal. When I coach clients individually, the same thing. I put them on a year program on coaching them to their goals. And so it's very focused on what those results are going to be. I also believe in easy to use and apply management leadership tools. If you've been to any of my training, you've probably seen me use a cause and effect diagram. You've seen me use a plan, do, check, act cycle. You've seen me use different surveys that I have that I've created on my own. They're simple, easy to use that I can train people on. They can do it on their own. So that's part of my philosophies, my guiding principles on how I do my work. So I'm hoping you can see the value and how the connections are between the vision, the mission, and the guiding principles. So what do we do now as we get near the end of this webinar and this content information is if you don't have a vision, mission, and guiding principle statement, I encourage you to start first with the vision statement. Draft it. You can also then move from there to your mission statement and guiding principles. If you already have them, now is a great time in the next few days to really look at them and say, are they valid? Do they need to be changed? How can you change to make them better? That are really representative of who you are and what you're doing and who you want to be known for, that legacy that you're going to leave behind. The good thing is there's a lot of great resources online. You can go and just type mission statement examples or vision statement examples, guiding principle statement examples into Google, any search engine, and you'll find hundreds of thousands of them. You'll be able to find examples of them. You'll be able to see guidance on how to create them. And of course, I'm willing to help you along the way wherever I can. So the first thing to do is draft them up if you don't have them, or if you have them, refine them. Then share them with other people. It's great that you wrote them and that you have them. Consider it a draft. Just like I mentioned, draft them up. Take what you have, consider it a draft. Share it with other people, people you trust, people that love you, and get feedback from them and ask them if it makes sense. I asked people when I created mine, and still from time to time I'll give them to people and say, is this a true reflection of who I am? Or if in case I didn't have them already, I would share them with other people and say, does this make sense? Am I missing something here? How can they give you feedback to improve your product? I'm a big believer in feedback. And I also a big believer that the best thing you can do is say thank you to feedback. You certainly, if you want to ask, in this case, for specific ideas, that's great. But the idea being, if you ask 5 or 6 or 7 people, some of the feedback you're going to get is going to be constructive. Some of it's not going to be constructive. The idea is that you take all the feedback, you say thank you, then you decide what's best. Now, if you take your draft and you share and you get some feedback, you may want to then go to another step and refine what you had based on that feedback. Don't feel like you have to do this overnight or that you have to do this in a way that requires it to be done in a couple of weeks. There's no deadline on this. But the beautiful thing is for most of us that are sitting at the end of a year, whenever it comes around, or perhaps at the end of a quarter, is that as you start to look to that new year, that new quarter, by going through this process, you get greater focus and you're going to have a better next year, a better next quarter. And you know what? You can also just have a better next week. There's nothing wrong with that. So once you refine your work, then I think the most important thing to do after that point is to literally start living your vision. Live your vision, leave a legacy. Once you have the vision and the mission, the guiding principles, it's just about putting them to use, about making it happen. Basis, don't hesitate to stop in and say hello with an email. I'd love to hear from you. And if I can do anything for you, please let me know.